If you grew up in the 1950s, Christmas wasn't just a season, it was a scent, and that scent was often hot sugar, melting butter, and chocolate. It was the smell of candy being made, right in your own kitchen. Because back then, Christmas candy wasn't something you just grabbed in a plastic bag from the store. It was something you created. Something you made, with your mother, or your grandmother, their hands dusted with flour and powdered sugar. These weren't just recipes, they were legacies, passed down on fragile, yellowed index cards. The ink faded but the instructions clear. Making Christmas candy was a tradition, a ritual as important as decorating the tree. It was a labor of love, a way to create gifts for neighbors and friends. It was fulfilling those heavy glass dishes on the coffee table, a sparkling invitation to anyone who walked through the door. And most of all, it was a way of proving you cared, that you were willing to spend hours over a hot stove, creating something beautiful, something sweet, something from scratch. The candy making always started in early December, when the air outside grew crisp and cold. You'd pull out the recipe box, a small wooden treasure chest. Inside, cards written in your grandmother's elegant cursive script held the secrets. Aunt Helen's Divinity, Grandma's Peanut Brittle. Each recipe title was a name, a memory, a story waiting to be retold. And there was always fudge, rich, dark, chocolate fudge. Then the ethereal, tricky Divinity, the shatteringly crisp peanut brittle, and soft, chewy caramels, each one destined to be wrapped in a tiny square of wax paper. Every candy was its own world, demanding different techniques, different tools, and most importantly, different temperatures. The kitchen transformed into a confectioner's workshop. Heavy cotton pots, the kind that felt like they weighed a ton, were brought out from the back of the cupboard. And, of course, the candy thermometer. This was the most important tool in the entire operation. It was the oracle, the one thing that stood between success and a burnt, sugary mess. Without it, you were just guessing. Wooden spoons stood at attention, ready for the constant stirring that lay ahead. Marble slabs or buttered cookie sheets waited patiently on the counter. Rolls of wax paper were unfurled. Everything was laid out, measured, and ready. Because making candy wasn't just cooking. It was chemistry. Precision was everything. Fudge was almost always the first project. The process began with the simple, comforting sound of a stick of butter melting in the pot. Then came the sugar, the evaporated milk, the chocolate chips. You'd turn the heat to medium and begin to stir, and stir, and stir. You couldn't walk away, not for a second, or the bottom would scorch. The thermometer, clipped securely to the side of the pot, was your guide. You'd watch the red line creep up, 200 degrees, to 20, to 34, softball stage. To be certain, you deperformed the test, dropping a tiny bit of the boiling mixture into a glass of ice-cold water. If it formed a soft, pliable ball that flattened when you picked it up, it was ready. You'd immediately pull the heavy pot off the heat. Then, you'd pour in the vanilla extract, the fragrance blooming in the warm air. Now came the hard part. You had to beat the fudge, hard and fast, with that sturdy wooden spoon. Your arm would ache, but you kept going, watching as the glossy, shimmering surface slowly turned dull and matte. That's how you knew. You'd pour the thick, heavy mixture into a buttered pan, spreading it evenly. Then came the most difficult part of all, waiting for it to cool. Finally, you cut it into perfect, neat squares. The first bite was always the best, perfectly smooth, creamy fudge. And the smell, that glorious chocolate smell, had already filled every corner of the house. Divinity was a different beast entirely. It was temperamental, delicate, and completely dependent on the weather. A humid day could ruin the whole batch. You'd start by beating egg whites until they formed stiff, glossy peaks. Meanwhile, on the stove, a sugar syrup was bubbling away, climbing to the hardball stage 250 degrees. Then came the moment that required teamwork. One person would pour the searingly hot syrup in a thin, steady stream into the egg whites, while another beat the mixture relentlessly, with an electric mixer. The kitchen would fill with the roar of the beaters and the sweet steam from the syrup. You'd add chopped pecans or walnuts, then work quickly, dropping spoonfuls of the snowy white mixture onto sheets of wax paper. Each one looked like a small, perfect cloud. When it worked, it was magic. Peanut brittle was pure drama. You'd boil sugar and corn syrup, watching the color change from clear to pale yellow to a deep, beautiful amber. 300 degrees. Hard crack stage. This was the point of no return. You'd stir in the peanuts, then the butter, finally, the baking soda. The mixture would foam up instantly, a bubbling, crackling volcano in the pot. You had to move fast, pouring the molten candy onto a marble slab or a buttered sheet pan, spreading it as thin as you possibly could before it set. As it cooled, you'd hear it crackle, then you'd break it into jagged, golden pieces. It was thin, crunchy, and absolutely addictive. You couldn't eat just one piece. Do you remember making Christmas candy like this? Or maybe just eating it? What was your family's go-to recipe? Was it the fudge that everyone begged for, or the divinity that only your grandma could get just right? Maybe it was something else entirely. Share your favorite Christmas candy memories in the comments below. We'd love to read them. Once all the candy had cooled completely, the next phase of the tradition began, the wrapping. The soft caramels were twisted into individual pieces of wax paper. You'd line festive Christmas tins, the ones with Santa or winter scenes painted on them, saved and reused year after year with more wax paper. Then you'd carefully arrange the layers. A layer of fudge, a sheet of wax paper, a layer of brittle, another sheet of wax paper, and a layer of divinity on top. You'd fill platters too, covering them with plastic wrap, ready to be delivered. These were gifts for the neighbors, for your teachers, for the mailman, for anyone who mattered in your small world. The candy you kept at home was stored in those tins, lasting for weeks. Whenever guests came to visit, you'd hear your mother or grandmother say, "Have some candy. I made it myself." There was so much pride in that simple statement. It wasn't just a boast about a cooking skill, it was a declaration. Because the candy was never just food, it was care and effort made tangible. It was a long afternoon spent stirring and watching and waiting. It was love, made tangible, made sweet. It was the taste of Christmas. If this video brought back warm memories of hot sugar syrup, the unwavering eye on a candy thermometer, and the deep satisfaction of a perfectly set batch of fudge, please give this video a thumbs up. And we'd be so honored if you'd subscribe to Yesterday Lives. Here, we try to preserve the recipes, the techniques, and the traditions of making something beautiful from scratch. Because the world of yesterday never truly disappeared. It just melted butter and sugar together in a heavy pot, stirred until the thermometer read exactly right, and poured something sweet and wonderful into waiting hands. Thanks for watching.